Welcome back. You're listening to Women's Issues, Women's Voices on 89.5 KOPN. It's not just radio, it's community radio in Columbia, Missouri. And in our Zoom studio, Corri, Flaker, Fraser, and I, this is Victoria Day, are brewing up a new project that we call the Goddess Hour. So if you're just tuning in, we are talking about Turtle Woman. And it's not just this month, we're thinking of this more as the season of Turtle Woman. So we're not exactly sure how many shows we might do on this.
Yeah, we've really been enjoying talking
Yeah.
about the archetype of the divine feminine in the shape of a turtle.
And I think I'm enjoying it so much because the invitation to slow down and check in and notice if where I am and how I am is actually nourishing my soft inner core. God, so important. And that I just, I'm gonna say, my mentor from the Progressive Women's Spiritual Council, she reminds me, right? It's all about the love. Right? It's always about the love. That's what the Divine Mother brings into our lives. So I want to read a little bit, even though this is not a woman writer. This is the best book I have ever found. If someone has a suggestion of a book by a woman who talks about the different energies and powers of the animals themselves and what the archetypes that they represent, let me know. But this is from the book Animal Speak, which is about the spiritual and magical powers of creatures great and small by Ted Andrews. And he says that turtle is about motherhood, longevity, and awakening ourselves to opportunities. Turtles are more ancient than any other vertebrate animal. There are around 250 kinds, 48 which are found in the United States. Turtles are different from tortoises because tortoises are land-bound. Turtles always live in and around water. A great deal of mythology exists in regard to the turtle. In the Far East, the shell was a symbol of heaven, and the square underside was a symbol of the earth. The turtle was considered an animal whose magic could help you unite heaven and earth within your own life, an invitation to really acknowledge the blessings of both the heavens and the earth. He says that the turtle is a shore creature using the land and the water. All shores areas are associated with doorways to the fairy realm. The turtle is sometimes known as the keeper to these doors. Turtles thus were often seen as signs of fairy contact and the promise of fairy rewards. In Nigeria, the turtle was a symbol of the female sex organs and sexuality. To the Native Americans, turtle was associated with the lunar cycle, menstruation, and the power of the female energies.
Can I tell you why that is?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, because if you look at a turtle's back, they have these 13 markings on just about every turtle's back. They have 13 markings. There's 4. No, wait. Oh, I can't remember. If you look at a turtle's back, or if you look at a picture somewhere, there's 13, like some down the middle and then 2 rows on the side. And oh, yeah, I'm gonna get the math wrong. But anyway, so there are 13 there, and in each year there are of Native American year, there is 13 lunar cycles.
Mm-hmm.
And the lunar cycles are associated with fertility and
Right. Because that's
paying,
the 13 full moons.
right, the 13,
Right.
yeah, the 13 full moons.
Yeah. Right. And so I find that interesting. One, it's a prime number, and I love prime numbers, which means it can only be divided right by itself and one, right, which just makes it very powerful. But it's also asymmetrical.
Yeah.
That means that the markings of the turtle always are what our culture would often think of as out of balance. And yet what my friends and I would say even in my movement work, that we know, even though humans will tend to like do things in symmetrical ways, like because somehow in our heads we think that's like perfection, it's a balance, it actually gets boring if you watch a dancer who's always doing the same thing on both sides of the body over, like at some point you're craving the odd number, right?
Right.
You look like you had a
oh, I was just thinking, I remembered. So there's 5 scoots down the middle and 4 scoots on either side. So it is symmetrical, but it's not an even number.
So they're symmetrical, but fascinating.
Yeah.
Again, so the 5 is a prime number. It's down right. Oh, and I want to, so let me hang on. I'm going to come over here. I got to come over here. So it says in the Ted Andrews, right? Turtles carry their homes on their back, and contrary to depictions in cartoons, turtles cannot leave their shells. They're not like what are those the hermit crabs? They cannot leave their shells. They stay in them because that shell is actually the backbone and the ribs of the turtle. So that those 5 scoots is the vertebra, right? And then the 4 on each side are the ribs of the turtle. So it serves as its home and shelter for turtle woman. Although some believe it impossible, if a turtle is flipped onto its back, it can right itself. It uses its strong neck and head to flip itself over. I'm going to actually argue with this. I should have read this earlier, because developmentally, then it's using its head, neck, vertebra, and tail. Because no animal only uses its head.
Yeah.
It's, as you as a cranial sacral practitioner know, right? You don't use your head and then nothing else, right?
Right.
So it may be initiating with its strong head and neck, but it is then sequencing down through the whole body into the tail to move itself over.
There's a lot going on inside that shell that we don't know about.
Yeah, right. I'm just thinking of developmentally as from human movement, right?
Right.
So
have you ever seen a baby try and roll over with just their head?
No, they don't. They're activating their whole neurological system when they're doing that, right? So, and I love it because then the next line is that turtle is a reminder to use your own head and knowledge to right yourself when your world gets topsy-turvy. And I would argue
keep going, sister.
Keep going. It's like that turtle is a reminder. Yes, like you have strength in your cognitive, but that to use your whole neurological system to feel yourself, right? And your connection with earth, right? Or your connection with water. Right? That's the thing, is turtle never needs to turn themselves over when they're deep in the water. Right? Yeah. That's what we use to help ourselves right ourselves when the world gets topsy-turvy. And I think that's a really great segue to like what you and I talked about with this that we so want to acknowledge the stuff that we can read, right? And the stories from other cultures that about Turtle Woman. But for us, the important thing is how do I as an individual, how do you listener, you out there listener who's listening to this, how do you embody Turtle Woman? How do you embody the energy of turtle, or how does Turtle Woman resonate for you? Right? It's not just, I mean, I totally honor what Ted Andrews is saying. And I also recognize that I have a different experience. Right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And that's what we really want this goddess hour to be, is, well, and I'm going to read this last little piece from him. Turtles have amazing survival skills and strategies. They sense vibrations in the water through their skin and shell. They hold the mystery of awakening the senses on both the physical and the spiritual levels. Turtle stimulates hearing and clairaudience, helps with vision and clairvoyance, heightens the sense of smell and of higher discrimination. That's perfect. I didn't even plan that. Thank you, Turtle Woman, right? Because that's what we're inviting people to do, is to feel this, not just, oh, up here in my brain, I understand Turtle Woman and but to really feel, right? Yeah. So is this a good place to segue into a little bit of guided meditation?
I think so. Yeah, this is a perfect time.
Okay.